What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we had a brand new video talking about the markets, both stocks and crypto, because they have both been rallying after this news over the weekend of the new variant not being so bad that people don't really need to be super worried about things closing the economy and things like that nature. But this is going to be probably a shorter video, just kind of talking about the overall markets and things and what's going on and why they've just flipped green. And what a lot of people got to keep in mind is that some of the best trading days in history come after some of the worst. And that's what the market usually does, is really overreact to news. You see the plunge down, and then it realizes we just overreacted. This isn't going to be the end of the world like we thought it was. Let's get back in. And that's just kind of what happens all the time. But before we jump into that, if you are not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump into these charts a little bit here. We can see on this, this is the Bitcoin charts. This is the first one up. So we'll talk about kind of Bitcoin and crypto relying to this. And we're going to move this line up to all-time highs. That's what it's supposed to be. But we see this descending channel. We talked about it yesterday, posted it. And we have broken out of it over $58,000 for Bitcoin when we were just at $53,000 a couple days ago. So, this massive pump up out of the channel. So Bitcoin itself doing very well. And that could be on news like this, talking about this new variant not being a disaster, not being so bad as everyone thought it was. And then the market's super overreacting like they normally do. But just one thing to look at, talking about this variant is not a disaster, and some people may be hugely overstating the situation, a scientist advising the government says. So not going to go over this whole kind of article because it's just not that interesting to me, but it's important for financial markets to at least know, are people super worried about this or not really worried about this? It looks like we're more on the scale of not so worried. So obviously Friday, the market came out and was like, this is terrible news. This is awful. Get out, run to safety. Everyone wanted to buy T-bonds and people wanted to hold cash. And you saw that reflected in Bitcoin's price, crypto's price, stock prices, all this stuff came down. But, now the scientists and people coming out saying it doesn't look like that big a deal. All the money floods back in. And it's weird that people continue to do this time and time again. Every single time there's a variant that comes out, and they're never going to stop. But every time there's one that comes out, the market's going to freak out. It's going to sell off, run to safety, and then this was a few days later, come back and realize it overreacted, and now, it's back in. So it's just kind of crazy to see it all working out that way. But so going to this, you can see from the side here, too, just everything green across the board, very little red. You go to the overall market, we'll go to VTI. So this is, VTI. We'll do the S&P 500. It's basically the exact same chart, but the S&P, this type of thing, you can kind of draw this kind of trend line here and look at it. So that's just very basic trend line. Just put it on. Obviously, you saw it right now. So you just kind of see it always revert back to this trend line. And every time there's a dip, it's a good time to buy because it just keeps going up, reverting the trend line. All of these dips were good buying opportunities. You continue to see it. Massive sell-off. This was the last month. Obviously, red month. But next month, what do we do? Rally all the way back up to this line again. The variant news comes out. You see it kind of going weaker right here. Fell and then starting to recover. Could it go back to the trend line again? Wouldn't be very surprising. But that's just kind of something to always look out here for. Like, these dips are usually good buying opportunities, and it's just very simple, like very, very simple TA with this line. You can see that it does somehow work. And the reason it might work is because it's just the majority of people who do TA are going to do simple TA stuff, and they're all going to buy these dips, and that rallies the price up, and then they'll sell near the trend line, and then that brings the dip in. And they're going to buy the dips and rally the price up and do it over and over again. And in the long term, it's just a kind of steady growth up and to the right. So it's just super simple TA with majority of people using it. When you have tons of people trading off the same lines, then you're going to get these similar moves, these big moves like this that are kind of predictable. And even if you look at like the giant companies, I mean, Amazon didn't really move too much off this stuff. Tesla had massive volatility. This was a combination of Elon selling, the variant news, all of this stuff. Even Apple, you can clearly see this was the variant day where you saw Apple drop from 160 went all the way down to 156. Just a massive red candle, and then opening up this week today with a green candle over 160. Like, no one's worrying about this stuff anymore, and it just always happens every single time. The market always overreacts, always looks at the worst case scenario, and that's usually why buy the dip is such a popular phrase. It trends on Twitter every time Bitcoin dips and these big assets dip, that it just trends on Twitter because everybody always looks at these dips and buys them, and the price rallies back up. And part of that could be because it's so trending and getting a lot of people involved, and a lot of people do the same thing. A lot of people are starting to really get into finance and investing and kind of say to themselves that buying the dip is the way to get more exposure, make your money go to work for you, do all of these things. Talking about buying the dip, a little bit of Bitcoin news. MicroStrategies purchased over 7,000 Bitcoin for $414 million in cash at an average price of $59,187. And they hold now over 121,000 Bitcoin, and their average cost price is $29,534. That is ridiculous. MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor continue to add on to what might turn out to be the greatest trade from a company in history, and it's going to be absolutely wild to see what they do. But this is part of their reserve strategy. When it says, they bought it in cash, that's just cash that the business is producing. Their part of their treasury reserve policy is to buy Bitcoin and hold it for a store of value. And you can see if you just held it in cash, like a lot of these companies are, if by official CPI numbers, you would have lost 6.2% of all of that cash in purchasing power, and nobody wants to do that. Then you scroll down, and of course, you got Peter Schiff talking about, of course you did, talking all those things, blah, blah, blah. It's funny to see Peter Schiff continue to talk about this, and he's admitted that he's just a super gold bug, but he admits that he doesn't hold lots of gold. And then on top of that, he's known about Bitcoin since it was $1 a coin when Max Kaiser tried to buy him in. So could he be just a little bit of a salty bear that's just mad he didn't get in on Bitcoin? And to end this video off, this is Bitcoin obituaries. So how many times Bitcoin has died over the years? Just 433 times, which is really just hilarious to see. But this goes with a lot more than just Bitcoin, with the overall market and things like we're seeing the recovery now. You can see just very quickly within since August, it's died 6 times, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is the amount of times it's died in each year, and it's just kind of goes to show you that these financial analysts and all these people don't necessarily know exactly what they're talking about, and that goes for everything with Bitcoin, with stocks, with all of this stuff. People bet against things all the time, and they lose all the time. So usually when people say something is dead and it's the worst thing in the world, as long as you go into the fundamentals, that's what really drives things long term. And, people said Apple was worthless when it first came out, said it would never do anything. Look at it now. Same thing for Bitcoin, same thing for Tesla. You just see all of these examples of why you shouldn't just blindly listen to anyone and just say that, things aren't worth it because some analyst said so. You got to make sure that you know what you want to get involved in. That's going to do it for this video. Just kind of the overall market just looking very green. It's just funny to see, Bitcoin announced dead just a couple days ago when it hit 53K. Look at it now, and the stock market overreacted to all this news. It's just what markets do, and it's just they continue to do the same thing over and over. So if you can see the dip and notice fundamentally nothing changed with either companies you're in or the overall market, then you should be doing pretty well. But as always, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. See you in my next video.